Be me. 26, female, dyed pink hair, obviously. Master's degree in gender and intersectionality studies from a university no one's heard of, but everyone agrees is very prestigious within the right circles. Living in a deep blue city, probably the bluest part of it. My apartment is filled with Ruth Bader Ginsburg prayer candles and books with titles like Deconstructing the Male Gaze and The Heteronormative Plague. Work for a nonprofit called WOMXN for a Future Unburdened by Men, or something like that. We mostly just make infographics for Instagram. My entire social circle is a carbon copy of me. We are an army of Lunas, a legion of pink-haired, non-profit-working, patriarchy-smashing warriors. We call each other Queen, unironically. My life is, by all metrics I've been taught to value, perfect. I am educated, independent, politically righteous, and have a killer skincare routine. There is only one gaping, festering wound in my otherwise flawless existence. My dating life. It's a barren wasteland, a nuclear winter of loneliness. This, of course, is not my fault. It's the patriarchy's fault. My friends and I have weekly Smash the Patriarchy wine nights where we discuss this at length. It's because you're a strong, independent woman, Luna, says Maya, swirling her organic fair trade Malbec. Men are intimidated by that. Totally, adds Jess, who is in a polyamorous throuple with two non-binary performance artists. Their fragile masculinity can't handle a queen who doesn't need them. We all nod, sagely. It makes perfect sense. We are simply too powerful, too magnificent. The problem isn't us, it's them. My Hinge profile is a masterpiece of modern feminist signaling. Pronouns: she, her. Job: social justice advocate. Photo 1. Me at the Women's March, holding a witty, profane sign. Photo 2. Me reading a 600-page book on feminist theory, looking thoughtfully into the middle distance. Photo 3. A blurry group shot with my friends where I am objectively the most attractive one. My prompts are designed to weed out the undesirables. I'm looking for a man who isn't afraid to cry and is actively dismantling his own internalized misogyny. The key to my heart is mutual aid and a thorough understanding of Audre Lorde. Don't hate me if I correct your problematic language. The matches are sparse, and the ones I do get are horrifying. I decide to document my journey. For the cause. The Dating Chronicles. Entry number 1. The Male Feminist. His name is Leo. On paper, he's perfect. He works for a different nonprofit. His profile mentions he's a feminist ally. He has a picture of himself wearing a "The Future is Female" t-shirt. This is it. The mythical woke man. We meet for coffee at a collectively owned vegan cafe. The date begins. I just want to say, he starts, his voice trembling slightly, that I think it's so brave of you to be so outspoken. Your profile is really inspiring. I preen a little. Well, someone has to fight the good fight. Absolutely. The systemic oppression women face is it's terrible. He agrees with everything I say. Fervently. I talk about the wage gap. He nods. Unacceptable. I talk about toxic masculinity. He nods. A prison for us all. I talk about the problematic nature of air conditioning being designed for male metabolic rates. He nods. So true. I'm literally shivering for you. He doesn't have an original thought in his head. He's a walking, talking slate think piece. There is no spark, no chemistry, no anything. It feels like I'm on a date with a particularly anxious parrot. He asks me what I'm looking for in a partner. I give him my standard speech. A partner who is my equal, a man who isn't afraid of my power, who challenges me. He nods so hard I think his head might fall off. Yes, yes, I would never be afraid of your power. I would cherish it. He looks at me with wide, adoring eyes. I feel a wave of revulsion. He's so weak. There's no spine in him. The date ends. He asks if he can see me again. I'll text you. I lie. I go home and block his number. I tell my friends he was probably a covert misogynist, trying to ally his way into my pants. They agree. The Dating Chronicles. Entry number 2. The Chad. His name is Kyle. I know I shouldn't have swiped right. I know it. He's everything I'm supposed to hate. 6 feet 4 inches, works in private equity, jawline that could cut diamonds. His photos are of him on a yacht, him skiing in Aspen, him holding a giant fish, the ultimate symbol of patriarchal capitalist excess. But, damn, my lizard brain takes over. Swipe right. We match instantly. His first message, "You up?" I should unmatch. I should lecture him. Instead, I giggle and text back. Depends who's asking. I hate myself. We agree to meet for drinks at a flashy, expensive cocktail bar. I wear my most intellectual yet sexy outfit, a black turtleneck and tight jeans. He shows up 15 minutes late, looking like he just stepped out of a magazine. He doesn't apologize. "Hey, Luna, right? You look better than your pics. Let's get a drink." He orders a ridiculously expensive whiskey for himself and a vodka soda for me without asking. For some reason, I'm not even mad. I try to steer the conversation to my usual topics. "So Kyle, what are your thoughts on the current socio-political landscape?" He takes a sip of his whiskey and smirks. Couldn't give less of a shit, to be honest. I'm trying to make money, not feelings. Acidity. I'm floored. I try again. Well, as a woman in today's society, I feel it's important to be aware of the systems of power at play. He leans in, his voice a low rumble. "You feel a lot of things, huh?" He's not listening. He's just looking at me. And it's working. My stomach is doing flips. I feel like a traitor to my gender. We talk for an hour, or rather, he talks, about his portfolio, his gym routine, his plans to buy a boat. I try to interject with a point about wealth inequality. He just laughs. "Babe, don't worry about it. Let me handle the money stuff." Babe. He called me babe. The date ends. He walks me to the subway. "I had a good time," he says. But he's already looking at his phone. "I'll hit you up." He doesn't. I wait for 3 days. Nothing. I text him. "Hey, had a great time the other night. Read receipt." No reply. I am devastated. Utterly, completely heartbroken over a man who is the human embodiment of everything I claim to despise. I tell my friends he was a disgusting pig, and I saw through his act immediately. They praise my strength. That night, I cry into a pint of Ben and Jerry's. The Dating Chronicles. Entry number 3. The Normie. His name is David. He's an engineer, 5 feet 11 inches. Makes a decent living, but not Kyle-level money. He's fine. He's a perfectly acceptable human man. We meet at a casual bistro. He's nice. He asks questions about my job. He seems genuinely interested, but I can't stop comparing him. He's not as validating as Leo. He's not as hot as Kyle. He's just David. I start picking him apart in my head. His shirt is a little wrinkled. He has a slight lisp. He mentioned he enjoys watching Joe Rogan clips sometimes. That's it. The nail in the coffin. "You know," I begin, my voice dripping with condescension, "Joe Rogan is a gateway to the alt-right. His platform is incredibly dangerous for marginalized communities." David looks taken aback. "Oh, I just thought the episodes with the scientists were interesting." That's how it starts, David. First, it's an interest in science, and the next thing you know, you're questioning settled gender theory. I go on a 20-minute tirade. I use all my big words: hegemony, kyriarchy, phallocentrism. David just sits there, his pasta getting cold. He has the expression of a man who has made a terrible, terrible mistake. When I finally run out of breath, he just says, "Wow, you've really thought about this a lot." He insists on paying the bill. He gives me a limp handshake at the door. It was educational, Luna. I know I'll never hear from him again. I feel a strange mix of triumph and emptiness. I won the argument. I proved I was smarter. So why do I feel so damn lonely? The intervention. A few weeks later, I'm having brunch with my oldest friend, Chloe. Chloe is, different. She's a lawyer. She's smart and ambitious, but she never got into the feminist theory stuff. She's engaged to a guy named Mark. Mark is a project manager for a construction company. He's a good, solid dude. He likes football and grilling. By my friend's standards, Mark is a problematic caveman. But Chloe is deliriously happy. I'm recounting my dating disasters. And then I had to explain to him how his casual enjoyment of a podcast was perpetuating centuries of patriarchal violence. I finish, expecting her usual sympathy. Chloe puts down her mimosa and gives me a look I haven't seen before. It's a mix of pity and frustration. "Luna," she says, her voice gentle, "can I be honest with you?" "Of course, Queen. Désolé, connards. Please don't call me that. Listen, you've been on, what, a dozen dates this year? And they've all been a disaster. Because men are trash," I say, a little too loudly. "No," she says, shaking her head. "That's not it. All those dates. What's the common denominator?" I stare at her blankly. "The patriarchy?" "You," she says softly. "It's you." I feel like she slapped me. "What are you talking about? I'm a catch. I'm smart. I'm passionate. You're impossible," she cuts in. "You go into every date like it's a job interview where you're the CEO and they're a lowly intern you have no intention of hiring. You have this insane checklist, and if a man doesn't tick every single box, you discard him. They're not standards, Chloe. They're requirements for basic human decency. No, they're not. Must be 6 feet 2 inches or taller. Must have a master's degree in a progressive field. Must earn more than me but be willing to admit he's privileged. Must be emotionally vulnerable but also strong and decisive. Must be a feminist but not a weakling. Luna, that man doesn't exist. You're searching for a unicorn. I'm not lowering my standards. It's not about lowering your standards. It's about having realistic ones. You want a guy who is in the top 1% of looks, income, and height, but who also has the political views of the bottom 1% of the population. It's insane," she continues. "You say men are intimidated by you. Leo wasn't intimidated. He worshipped you, and you were disgusted. Kyle wasn't intimidated. He was indifferent, and you were obsessed. David wasn't intimidated. He was just a normal guy, and you crucified him for not being woke enough. You don't get it," I mutter, tears welling in my eyes. I feel attacked. She's blaming the victim. "What I get," she says, her voice firm but kind, "is that you're miserable, and you're blaming everyone but yourself. You claim to be this enlightened, empathetic person, but you show zero empathy for the men you date. You treat them like ideological opponents to be defeated, not like people to connect with." I leave brunch in a huff. I text my friends that Chloe has been brainwashed by the patriarchy and her relationship is probably toxic. They agree. "Dump her," Jess texts. She's not a real ally, but Chloe's words, they stick with me. They're like a splinter in my brain. The rabbit hole. That night, I can't sleep. The common denominator is you. The words echo in my head. I do something I've never done before. I open an incognito tab. My fingers hesitate over the keyboard. I type it. "Why can't modern women find a good man?" The first few results are the usual feminist blogs and articles. 10 signs he's a toxic man baby. You don't need a man, you need a vibrator. But then I scroll down. I see a YouTube video. The title is something like "The Harsh Reality of the Modern Dating Market." The thumbnail is a graph. Curiosity gets the better of me. I click it. It's a man's voice. Calm, logical, emotionless. He's talking about dating apps, about the 80-20 rule, how the vast majority of women on the apps are all competing for the same small percentage of top-tier men, the Kyles. He puts up stats, graphs data from OkCupid and Tinder. He explains that for the average man, the dating app experience is a brutal, soul-crushing desert of rejection, while for the average woman, it's an overwhelming fire hose of attention, most of it from men she considers beneath her. He talks about hypergamy, the female instinct to date up. He's not angry or hateful. He's just laying out the facts. It's horrifying. It's everything I'm supposed to hate. This is the manosphere, the red pill, the enemy. But it makes a terrifying amount of sense. It explains Kyle. He had endless options. I was just one of 100 women in his DMs. He didn't need to put in any effort. I was disposable. It explains Leo. He was likely one of the average men, so desperate for a match that he'd contort himself into whatever shape he thought a woman wanted. It explains David, the vast, invisible majority of men who are just normal, the men that women like me swipe left on by the thousands without a second thought. I fall down the rabbit hole. For hours, I watch videos, read articles, lurk on forums. I see the world from the other side, the male perspective. I see their frustration, their loneliness, their confusion at being told they're simultaneously privileged oppressors and also expected to be providers, protectors, and mind readers. I feel sick. Everything I thought I knew, it's a lie. Feminism had given me a map of the world, a simple, easy map where I was the hero, and men were the dragons, and the patriarchy was the evil castle I had to conquer. But the map wasn't the territory. The world was infinitely more complex, and I wasn't the hero. In my own story, I was the villain. The epiphany. The next weekend is Chloe's engagement party. I almost don't go. I'm ashamed to face her, but I do. The party is at her and Mark's house in the suburbs. A real house, with a yard. It's filled with normal people, couples, families. I watch Chloe and Mark. They move around each other with an easy intimacy. He puts his hand on the small of her back. She laughs at his dumb joke. He's grilling burgers. He brings her one fixed exactly how she likes it, without her even asking. Later, I see them on the porch swing, just talking. They look so peaceful. I find Chloe in the kitchen. "You were right," I say, my voice barely a whisper. She just smiles and gives me a hug. "I know, but you had to see it for yourself." We talk for an hour. She tells me about her relationship with Mark. "He's not perfect, Luna. He leaves his socks on the floor. He can't cook anything besides grilled meat. But he's a good man. He's kind, he's loyal, he works hard, and he makes me feel safe. He's my partner." "Does it bother you that you make more money than him?" I ask. "It's the ultimate feminist taboo." She laughs. "God, no. Why would it? He's so proud of me. He brags about me to all his friends. It's not a competition. We're a team. His success is my success, and my success is his. A team. The concept feels so foreign. I've been taught that a relationship is a power struggle. I go home that night, and I do something painful. I open Hinge, but I don't swipe. I look at the men I've rejected. My ex pile. There are hundreds of them. A teacher, smiling with his class. A firefighter, holding a puppy. A software developer, looking goofy. A plumber, looking proud of his work van. Normal men, decent men, men with jobs and hobbies and friends. Men I dismissed in a fraction of a second. Why? Because he was 5 feet 10 inches. Because he had a typo in his profile. Because he wasn't smiling with his teeth. Because he liked a sports team I hated. Because they weren't good enough. The truth hits me like a physical blow. The patriarchy wasn't stopping me from finding love. I was. My arrogance, my impossible standards, my political ideology that I wore like armor, shielding me from any real human connection. I wasn't a queen. I was a fool, sitting atop a throne of my own making, in an empty, lonely castle. The rebuilding. I delete my dating apps. All of them. I unfollow the militant feminist infographic accounts on Instagram. I start reading different books. Books about psychology, about biology, about history. I stop seeing my friends so much. The wine nights have lost their appeal. Their endless cycle of complaint and validation now sounds like the screeching of broken records. I start working on myself. For real this time. Not smashing the patriarchy work. Just work. I go to therapy. I talk about my fear of intimacy, my need for control, my crippling perfectionism. I get a hobby. I join a hiking club. At first it's just about the exercise, the fresh air. I don't talk to anyone much. I just walk, and I think. A few months go by. I'm on a difficult trail. I slip on a loose rock and twist my ankle. A man from the group comes over to help me. His name is Sam. He's a carpenter. He has kind eyes and a quiet confidence. He's not 6 feet 4 inches. He probably doesn't know who Audre Lorde is. He expertly wraps my ankle with a first aid kit from his pack. He's gentle and competent. He helps me hobble back to the trailhead, making easy conversation the whole way. He doesn't ask me what I do for a living. He asks me what my favorite mountain is. He drives me home. At my door, he asks, "Once your ankle is better, would you like to get a coffee with me?" The old Luna would have laughed. A carpenter? How provincial. The old Luna would have already calculated his potential income and found it wanting. The new Luna just smiles. A real, genuine smile. "I'd love that," I say. Our first date is coffee. We just talk. About hiking, about woodworking, about our families, about stupid movies we like. There's no checklist, no interview, no ideological purity test. It's easy. He tells a joke. It's dumb. I laugh. A real belly laugh. He looks at me when I laugh, and his eyes crinkle at the corners. I feel a spark, a real one. Not the confusing, self-destructive pull I felt for Kyle. Not the pity I felt for Leo. Just a simple, warm, human connection. We go on a second date. A hike, a slow and easy one. We reach a viewpoint, looking out over the valley. The sun is warm on my face. The air is clean. Sam is standing next to me, not saying anything, just enjoying the view with me. He reaches over and takes my hand. His hand is calloused and strong. It fits perfectly in mine. He smiles at me, and I smile back. Be me. 27, standing on a mountain, holding hands with a good man, feel the sun on my face. Maybe, just maybe, this is what it's supposed to be like.